Is it recording? Welcome to the Technical Difficulties Podcast. I'm Alex McKenzie. I'm joined by Trayvon Blaney and Julian Moran. Thanks for joining. Let's go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Well, that was off. That was at the same time. So if you're listening to this right now, we're all speaking over each other. The technological difficulties we've gone through to bring you this, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to put up with it. So Julian, how would you describe the process of us trying to get together and record this interview, despite the fact both Trayvon and I are in the same location?
I would say that this borders on rocket science at this point. I think at this point, it would have been easier for us to all get doctorates in astrology and send a man to the moon than it was to figure out how to record 30 people's audio without
the best part is we still didn't even figure it out. Like we wasted like an hour and like a half basically, and we still didn't come up with a solution.
Well, all right. We're working on trying to get the video up right now and for future podcasts. And so we're trying to work that in. So if you're looking at this and you're like, wait, Alex and Trevor are in the same house. Why are their backgrounds entirely different? Well, the solution we ended up having to do was we're just in different rooms.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, it was just easier to move away from each other. I mean, look at it this way, boys. If the podcast we're doing right now turns out to be shit, we can just release the literal hour of us trying to get a proper recording going, and me just bitching and complaining about hearing myself in my own ears.
I think that's solid content. Who wouldn't want to listen to that on their way to work or something? Just three guys stressed out.
Look, if you're feeling down about yourself, just listen to that.
Yeah.
You'll feel a little bit better about yourself.
We should start an IT help company. And that
we
our
need
promo.
If we could charge per minute that people are on for it, we'd be the highest grossing company on the planet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, our customer complaints section though would be even bigger than like our IT support section. Anyways, well, thanks for joining us here for the second episode of Lizard Kings podcast. Let's get into what is bar none biggest news in the world right now. That is the suspension of ESPN reporter Adrian Wojnarowski. Julian, what's your hot take on the matter?
I really didn't think that was going to be the biggest story.
Yeah, I didn't think that's where you were going to start it, but I respect that.
I respect that too. To be honest, all I'm aware about was a very profanity-laden email to a senator, and I think it was 100% warranted.
Yeah, that's a good overview of what we're about to get into. So, just in case you don't know who Adrian Wojnarowski is, he is like the NBA's preeminent insider. He gets all the scoops before they're released. And honestly, if you don't follow Adrian Wojnarowski on Twitter, if you're not getting updates from him, you're going to be like a full hour behind on any NBA news that comes out. Honestly, it seems like the guy has like premonitions of visions at times. It's like, how could you know this?
A master of the dark arts.
Truly.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he's I think pretty well respected just in general within the NBA community. He's got 4 million followers on Twitter. Like, he is the follow. Anyways, so I'll just straight up, I'll read from an article on Awful Announcing, basically to give you the background of what happened with Adrian Wojnarowski and how he ended up getting suspended. So regardless, there's a Republican senator by the name of Josh Hawley, who, like, for literally no reason whatsoever, was just like, hey, NBA, you are actually, like, assholes, because the NBA has decided to approve 29 social justice messages the players can put on the back of their jerseys. And this Republican senator, decided to critique the NBA for not including pro-military and pro-police slogans like "Support our troops" and "Back the Blue," plus "Free Hong Kong." And he published an open letter to Adam Silver. So thanks for that, Josh Hawley. No one asked for your opinion.
Yeah, like, why does this guy think it's his business? Like,
yeah.
what is he the senator of? Where?
Typical,
also.
Missouri. So
I will
he's
say
like-
though,
I don't think. Yeah, sorry.
I was
Sorry,
just trying
Julian?
to say, I hadn't actually heard what the slogans that he was proposing were. I knew he was upset with the slogans that the NBA had approved, but I like, to be honest, I kind of agree with like the Free Hong Kong one. Like, I think that's like, because the NBA is so like, they're really trying to get into China, and so of course the NBA is not going to like approve, and especially
Yeah.
what with like the Houston Rockets last year, like.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
Look.
I think that's a fair point to make. I mean, I'm not super like Blue Lives Matter, all that bullshit, but like one of the three, you know?
Well, I should. You're not wrong, and the NBA deserves criticism for its stance
Yeah.
on China, but like that is such typical Republican bullshit.
Yeah,
It's like whataboutism. They're like, yeah, but the one time you fucked up, it's like, okay, like you're right, I guess, but you're just being a real dick about it, and you're throwing in some real dickish points. And
Yeah.
anyways, so how Adrian Wojnarowski loops into this is, so apparently senators have like you subscribe to their press releases if you're a reporter, and so they'll like just release press releases, and everyone who's subscribed to their senators gets those emails. Adrian Wojnarowski, fair to say, is not subscribed to Senator Josh Hawley's news releases. So when Josh Hawley decided to be like, you know what, fuck you, NBA, for no reason whatsoever, someone in his office purposely added Adrian Wojnarowski's email to this, even though he was in no part of this. He's just like, this is just spam. It's fucking spam. And Adrian Wojnarowski responded to the way everyone should respond to spam, with a simple 2-letter response: fuck you. Not else. If you can see the photo of the email, it's hilarious because there's like no like signed name. There's just nothing.
Yeah.
There's no lead up. There's no like dear like he's emailing a United States senator, and he's just like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, it's pretty ballsy.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I bet you shit like that happens all the time too, where people are really like, anytime there's a huge email hack, like there's always some really informal and like not at all work okay emails that come out for every company. It's like people are way too comfortable thinking emails aren't going to come out. Anyways, the way this did come up is the senator, like a real tool, published, like screenshotted the email Adrian Wojnarowski sent, and then posted it on Twitter and was like, oh, what a like ESPN, what a poor, like disrespectful employee you have. Which I have heard some reports might be illegal, because he also like put it on his campaign Twitter account, and you can't publish or talk about communications you have with constituents while you're campaigning.
Ah.
Because the point is, like, if your constituents have issues and they want to complain, if you then publish that and like fuck this person, like it just undercuts civil debate, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyways, and so he just published the photo, and as a result, ESPN. Well, first off, Adrian Wojnarowski apologized, which I don't think he should have, and then ESPN suspended him to on Friday, I believe, for a week to 2 weeks without pay. So
Damn.
But is
I
it?
mean, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, like, I mean, it was just like an insult, pretty like blatant, like fuck you. I mean, it's not that bad. I don't know if I've ever sent a text though to someone just like fuck you. I don't know if I've ever even texted anyone that.
It's just so succinct. I kind of love it. There's just like, there's no beating around the bush. It's like, hey.
Yeah, it's kind of classy. Like, if you're gonna insult someone, like he did it in a classy way. Just, fuck you.
I don't disagree. I mean,
Is there-
Julian, it's like,
Is there any
non-
indication that he's gonna get like fired? Because that would be a real shame. It sounds like.
I don't think so. I mean, they've suspended him, so I doubt they'd suspend him and then fire him.
I mean, don't they usually suspend people while they're like deciding what to do, like internal investigations and all that?
Yeah, maybe. There's not really much of an internal investigation, though. Like, he
Well, yeah,
admitted to
like-
it.
What was like the actual? Yeah, there's no hiding from that. That wasn't
Evidence, the email.
yeah.
Ugh,
But like,
yeah.
what was like the actual reason behind them suspending it? Like, did they say that? Any reason, or just like he's suspended?
It's because, honestly, in this, like, at least historically in the States, there's such, like, supposed respect that's supposed to be given to people like senators and presidents and stuff like that. I mean, like, and so I think that's part of it. Also, Disney, who owns ESPN, is like so apolitical.
Yeah.
Disney really believes in the Michael Jordan-esque approach to politics, which is, I think I stand for good stuff. It seems like I stand for good stuff, but I'm never, ever, ever going to tell you what that is. I'm never going to like stand up for anything. And so ESPN has like in the past suspended people and fired people for having political statements on shows. People like Jamel Hill or people like Bill Simmons who were like a little too political for their liking. And honestly,
But is that
think,
even a political statement?
sorry.
Is that even a political statement? Sending "fuck you" to someone? Like I feel like you would have done that if it was just some like random celebrity who tweeted that. Like if the fact that it was a senator doesn't really like change anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Alex is right though. Like there is this like because I think it's a great point. Like if it had been sent to any celebrity, like I'm not sure that there would have been the same backlash, but I guess there is something to be said about like there's supposed to be like efforts
senator
given towards senators. Exactly. Yeah.
Senator of Missouri. Though,
We're gonna lose all of our Missouri fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just
talk about it.
Yeah, it turns out all of our fans are in Missouri. I just really fucked the dog on that one.
Yeah. Anyways, but I think it's honestly such trash that ESPN won't stand behind. They're probably like one of their top 5 most prominent employees.
Yeah.
And like I've seen a lot. It seems like everyone is really supporting Woj. Like multiple NBA players, including Lou Williams and LeBron, tweeted out a free Woj hashtag. I honestly think, in many ways, this will be good for Woj's career because I think players will respect him more.
Yeah.
Because you know what, he was like, he's told that that was a deserved. If someone, there was just such an unwarranted like this is what I think, or like unwarranted just shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
And what are you not supposed to tell someone off for doing that? I know it's not the most
apologized.
I think ESPN forced him to.
Yeah, definitely. They're probably like, "We'll fire you if you don't apologize," and then he apologized, and they're like, "Okay, we'll suspend you." But like 2 weeks without pay isn't really that big of a deal for someone like Woj.
I don't understand why ESPN is suspending him for. Like, who are they trying to appease? Like the right wing? Those people aren't watching the NBA anyways, man. It's the NBA. Like, it's the most liberal league by far and away. Like, if you're a hardcore racist or like right wing,
You're watching
probably
NASCAR.
Not anymore, apparently.
Yeah.
NASCAR's done.
NASCAR's canceled, Traven.
Yeah.
Actually,
I guess so.
That is the weirdest, craziest.
Now, let's talk about NASCAR. Can we talk about NASCAR?
Let's talk about the Bubba Wallace story and just how, I mean, on one hand, quite like touching and inspiring, and then also like, what stories I've ever heard.
Truly.
I mean, Julian, you want to give a little bit of background on it here?
Yeah, I mean, I can try my best. You guys can fill in the details where I miss them. But so it started right with Bubba Wallace Bubba Wallace's team finding a noose in his garage, and then NASCAR pretty quickly immediately launched an investigation. The FBI got involved because I guess it had the potential for a hate crime. And it was pretty remarkable that like the NASCAR community kind of like rallied around Bubba Wallace. And there was just like a huge show of support. Like all of NASCAR like marched with him. And they allowed him to have a Black Lives Matter car, which I think is really fucking sweet. Have you guys seen it? It's like all black. No. It actually looks really cool.
Yeah, just the Batmobile.
Yeah, it's really yeah. But yeah, so and then the FBI like decided, or I guess they did an investigation, and it wasn't a noose. And then the president of the United States got involved, and Bubba Wallace has just been a hero through all of this.
Well, yeah, because the FBI investigated, which like it's a potential hate crime, so it makes sense. Like that's what the FBI is there for.
Yeah.
And they uncovered the fact that apparently, like they published a photo of it a couple days after, and it like it's very much like it's a noose on the garage door. You can search up the photo, and like it's just a noose. But apparently, that noose had been there to like help bring down the garage door since like September of 2019, like far before Bubba Wallace would have been assigned to go there. And anyway, so that's what the FBI said, and so like the kind of official story that came out was like, oh, it like wasn't a noose, even though this huge show of support of Bubba Wallace in the face of racism.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, I don't, even though it wasn't really like supposedly a hateful act, it was just like a coincidence. I like it shouldn't detract from what was like a really cool show of support. But then, as you say, the president just had to just take the worst side of any possible fucking argument.
I don't even know what he said. What did Trump say?
Well, so one other thing was that NASCAR, like, they banned the Confederate flag from like all races, which is also like, so there was a lot of like really kind of rapid progressive actions that were taken. It's like pretty impressive, but
Just
makes
like
me like
NASCAR?
makes me kind of want to start watching NASCAR. So President Trump like tweeted out saying like, you know, Bubba Wallace like should apologize for like, I don't know, the hoax or whatever, and like the great show of support that he got from all the drivers, and like basically like Bubba Wallace is somehow at fault for like everything that's happened, and then like. Oh, and then he talked about the ratings, of course, because like obviously the president
gotta throw the ratings.
So and then everybody was of course just like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, and that was also honestly like a number of drivers came out and they're like, he has literally nothing to apologize for. Like President Trump needs to like stick to his own shit. Watch your lane.
What? He didn't even report it. It was reported to him. It was like he didn't see it. People told him like, "Oh, we found this."
Yeah.
And and then they published a photo of it. And like, I don't know how you would describe it as anything other than like it is a noose. It just wasn't put there in a hateful way. So.
And like honestly, it doesn't even sound like I think it's very. What happened was like it looks like a noose, and that's what launched everything. It wasn't that like it makes sense that the things happened in the way they did. It wasn't like anybody like overreacted or like kind of made a drama. Like it looks like a fucking noose.
But wasn't it like in that like garage for like years?
Yeah, but like have you looked at the other like door
so like
garage doors? Like they're just
but if it was his team,
this one like is a noose. It's like a literal noose.
Yeah, so you don't think that team would notice that like prior to, you know, like
they probably noticed it right away because they're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, I think in the wake of like George Floyd and the protests, like there's definitely an awareness right now for catching that sort of thing that wasn't present before. And I'm sure like his team, I actually don't know who discovered the news, but like I'm sure his team would have like instantly made the connection that like Bubba Wallace, the only black driver in NASCAR, happens to be in a garage that has a noose on it. Coincidence? Pretty unlikely.
Anyways, yeah. Props to NASCAR though for actually taking a progressive position upon race and like trying to take a stand. I mean, that's just such a typical 2020 thing to happen. At least it's a positive 2020 thing, but 2020 in the sense that it's weird and like I never would have said, you know what, NASCAR, they're gonna be the ones that, you know, they're like, guys, we're gonna bring it together. This is not acceptable anymore. Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It is, yeah.
Alex, I saw, speaking of like racing, I saw that you were kind of getting into like motorcycle racing, was it? Like MotoGP and shit?
No, I've been watching F1.
Oh, F1, all right.
Yeah.
You actually have been watching it?
So, yeah. So, have you ever seen the Formula One Netflix series?
No.
It's like a Formula One reality show where they have like a documentary crew in, and they film things throughout the season, and then they do like every episode. They have 10 episodes per season, and each episode focuses on a team or two or a storyline or two that go on throughout the season. So they're constantly jumping back and forth throughout it. It's not like a summary of each race. It's like all about the drama, and it works because F1 drivers are the most prima donna sons of bitches I've ever seen in my life. It's like they're all rich, like all except for a couple of them were wealthy growing up. They're wealthy now. They're hot white guys, and they are used to being fast and being daredevils and cool. And the drama is unbelievable. I mean, Julian, you're the real F1 fan. So.
Yeah. So I was super glad that you started watching it because I think it's like as a documentary, it's incredible. Like
It's a really well made show.
Yeah, and like they have such incredible access, which I think was one of the things that like it's been already renewed for like 2 more seasons. They've done 2 seasons because it was just such a raging success for Formula One. Because I think Formula One, as like to somebody who doesn't know anything about it, just seems like it's like fast cars going around a circuit, which is loosely what it is. But there's also like the thing that makes it engaging is the storylines. Like you've got these drivers who are like they're all incredible drivers. Like you're in the 0.1% of drivers in the world if you're driving in Formula One. And they're all just like the teams. There's so much money involved, and there's just it's a very engaging like story. I really enjoy it. But yeah, I think Alex nailed it on the head. Like it's a bunch of rich white guys. Oh, the drama is
also,
incredible.
You call them characters, but I guess the people who are involved in the sport are some of the most fascinating like people I've ever seen because there's just such a weird mix of egos. The most interesting people are like the team principals, who are like the general managers of the team, the CEOs of the companies, because they're all big companies that support these teams, right? Like Red Bull's involved. Also, why is Red Bull involved in just sports for like no reason
like
whatsoever?
extreme sports? They're just like all in on extreme sports.
Anyways, so
they have 2 teams.
The first season of the show. Yeah. They have 2 teams. They have a backup squad in the first division, and then they have the main squad. Anyways.
It's pretty dope.
So but they really like the first season of the show. They really take part because I mean, for them, it makes a ton of sense because they're there for commercial purposes, and I mean, it's a huge show. It's a big deal. Anyways, also I want to follow up to if you're not interested in racing like at all. I was not interested in racing at all. Trust me, Julian can tell you. Last year when Montreal F1 came down, I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. And I've shown it to my parents who also no interest in racing, and they really like the show too because it's a well-made show that focuses on the storylines. And honestly, like I don't know a lot more about racing per se because I've watched the show. I've learned a little bit, but it's all about the drama. It's a reality show, and that's why it's great. The team principals, these CEOs, these GMs. They're all like really they all think they're the shit, and they all have and they're like the people orchestrating all the egos and stuff too, and they're like half the time they're the coolest people you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check it out. You sold it.
Yeah.
So it's called Formula One Drive to Survive, and there's 2 seasons out right now, and they're filming the 3rd one right now.
Because I honestly hadn't really thought about Formula One racing like at all, really that much, especially like who does it. But it makes sense that it's kind of like rich white people. Like, there's no like poor people that like get into like F1 racing.
Definitely. So like
the size. Sorry, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say like it's interesting because Lewis Hamilton, who's like maybe the best racing driver to have ever lived. And it kind of pains me to say that because I'm not a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, but he like did not come from a super wealthy family, and that's actually true for a couple of other drivers whose families like really kind of put everything they had into these kids like learning to do like go-karting, and like they just really liked go-karting, and that's kind of like how you get into Formula One is you start with like go-karting basically, and then you move up progressively, and then you eventually end up in Formula One if you're like 0.1% of the best drivers in the world.
Also, if you're good looking, if you're ugly, you ain't ever gonna make it. I'm sorry.
There's
but like it's all about advertising, really. So they're all like charismatic people too.
That is true. That is a good point.
But they're all also good. So I mean, to give them credit.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, Trey, you've been watching the new show, eh?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about that.
So
have either of you heard of like Line of Duty?
No.
Well, it's like it's kind of a long story about like why I started watching it, I guess. But like my mom got like the Brit box on like Apple TV, so she has all these like British shows. So like it's kind of funny. She just like fucking loves them. But like I started watching this one with her. It's about like anti-corruption police in the UK. So it's like pretty relevant to like what's going on. And I hadn't really like actually thought about like anti-corruption police before, but it's pretty cool, man. They like go after like the really bad cops and stuff and like dirty cops. It's pretty cool.
So it's like internal
Yeah,
internal police kind
it's
of
like
thing.
internal affairs kind of thing. But I don't know what they have in like America and Canada, if it's like the same sort of thing. But like honestly, we should just be like funding more money into like anti-corruption police.
Yeah,
Because like they're like legit police that just like investigate other police. Pretty
need that.
interesting. I don't know. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a really good show, honestly. Both of you should check it out if you could. It's like pretty like it's in terms of like detective like cop shows, it's like up there, which is surprising because like anti-corruption sounds lame as fuck. Like it's actually pretty cool. So
And I mean,
Yeah.
cop shows just in general are kind of passe right now, but at least this is a cop show about catching bad cops.
exactly.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was pretty relevant to like what's going on in the world when I
if
started
they-
watching it.
What if they just arrest like the whole department in an episode? I mean,
Yeah,
that'd
just
be-
go like shoot up at a station. Yeah.
just the whole, just like no, they all gotta go. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
It's honestly pretty surprising though. Like I don't know if it's just a TV. I feel like it's just because it's a TV show, but there's like a lot of shit that goes down. Makes you wonder, you know, like not just like the extra abusive cops, but also like cops that are like running drug rings and shit.
Yeah. I think I've got something for you then. If you're like into that sort of thing, I started listening to a podcast called Audit the Audit, which is
Okay.
like it's kind of like it's a guy who like goes through like different police interactions as well as like police investigations and like lists all the ways they broke the rules basically.
Okay.
Like all the ways they violated like people's like rights and stuff. And like it's pretty nuts. Like if you think that like the corruption police is like a little bit over the top, you might be surprised with like. But check it
Is
out.
that
It's
like-
called Audit.
Okay.
Audit.
Is it like kind of like those true crime podcasts, like kind of like that?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's just like kind of going through all the ways that like cops continually break our rights because we don't
Yeah.
know what our rights are. So they just push them because we don't know any better.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
that is,
Damn.
yeah, that is very true. Well, I want to take this part of the podcast to thank our sponsor, Growers, British Columbia Cider.
And he's finished
just to be
that whole
clear.
thing.
Just to be clear, Growers does not actually sponsor our podcast, but if they'd like to, I'd very much be game for that. So if any of you all know some Growers people, put them in contact. Anyways, thank you, Growers.
I'm okay. I don't want them as a sponsor.
Anyways, I think this is going to be a terrible transition, but I think the people who would really benefit from some Growers right now are all those guys stuck in the NBA bubble who seem to be deeply unhappy with what seems like a pretty nice setup. I don't know.
We were talking
the
about this
average
last
person.
episode.
Yeah. Because you were,
Well, they're actually in now.
Yeah.
yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
So
It's
talk
been
me
kind
through
of-
what's the drama? What's going on?
Well, there's been like pretty bad reports of like shitty food, like airplane type food. But I don't know if that's like fully real or not. I know like Alex, you were saying that maybe it wasn't real.
So we're getting all the players are in there, and they're all just on Instagram posting stories and stuff about it. And that's is that fair to say that is not the best reporting system? Just people's Instagram stories. So like fans are just trying to put together like, oh, what does this actually look like right now? And so a player named Troy Daniels posted a photo of what is basically an airplane tray of food.
Yeah. Like it looks bad.
Yeah. Turns out that apparently wasn't the whole meal that they were provided, and apparently some of it has to do with all the players having to quarantine 48 hours upon entering the bubble, so they can't just do any of the other typical restaurant setups right now.
Okay.
But yeah, but it is interesting. Like honestly, I mean, it's gonna be tough for some of those guys being in there for a long time, and I think because they're all quarantining right now, they can't get too much together. But to be honest, what I've taken away from it, that just looks like the coolest basketball camp of all time.
Yeah.
Like as of right now, because there's
Yeah.
just a Disney World and they're all playing basketball together, and it's
Yeah.
all these people from different teams too. And the NBA like players are like friends with guys from different teams all across the way, so they're all just like hanging out at Disney World.
You know what I would have liked to see? This like happened like 20 years ago in Michael Jordan's era, where all the players like were pretty like
It's just been
hateful to one another. And it was just like fights were breaking out and shit. Like you know, like all this like other like pranks and stuff, like malicious pranks.
They gotta turn it into a dry island just because people get in bar fights and stuff all the time in the lead up to games.
Honestly, I feel like this is a missed opportunity by the NBA to film like a reality show, like a Big Brother type reality show.
That would be
Who
unbelievable.
gets kicked out of the NBA next?
Yeah, like that. I would watch that, man. Hidden cameras.
Oh my God.
It's like J.R. Smith smoking a blunt in his room, and like James Harden has like multiple
in
like
the bubble.
strippers. Yeah, man, that would be like. I would pay money to watch that.
That would be great, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're getting a bit of that through some of the Instagram stories and stuff like that.
Right.
If they aren't doing a degree of that, I mean, some sort of reality TV show, just that's a huge waste.
I know. Honestly.
2 hours later.
And we are back.
Welcome
A
back.
few more technical difficulties, but that's just the theme of this podcast.
I think
Yeah, we should rename our podcast "Technical Difficulties."
That's actually so much. That's a way better name.
Yeah, that is technical
Name it.
difficulties. Yeah,
That's
fuck.
Laser
Sorry.
Kings, the hell-
Well,
whatever.
we could do it.
we don't even talk
episode.
about conspiracy.
Guys, we're 2 episodes into it, and we're already thinking about renaming the podcast.
Yeah, I
We're gonna
mean,
rebrand. It's like the bats that changed their name. It's like mouse
Yeah.
rat. That's what we are. We're,
yeah,
we're the
yeah,
mouse
mouse
rat
rat.
of podcast.
Mouse rat would be another funny podcast name too.
No, that's probably at Parks and Rec, and that would just such a sad situation.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
think maybe we'd be able to meet Michael Schur. That'd be worth it. I'd get
I
sued by
would-
Michael Schur to meet Michael Schur.
I would do
Alright.
that too.
Anyway, so Julian, what
Yeah.
was it that you wanted?
Yeah, so I wanted to. So I've got this. It's called a one wheel. It's like it's a.
you brought one of those.
So
Are they fun?
they're stupid. Fun. Like,
All right,
amazing.
explain that to people who don't know what those are.
Yeah, so for people who aren't watching the video, if we didn't put the video up or whatever, it's basically like imagine a go-kart tire, and then it's like a skateboard, but then the go-kart tire is like in the middle of the skateboard. So there's like a wheel, and you stand on either sides of it, and you
How's
like lean
that-
forward to go forward and lean backwards to go backwards. Sorry,
Oh, that's how.
Isn't,
sorry, what did you say, Alex?
isn't it just a hoverboard?
Not really, because it's like side to side like a skateboard instead of like forward backward.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
it's like controlled by like you leaning forward. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's actually pretty
then-
cool.
and then like
You
a
ride
skateboard.
it like a skateboard?
Sorry,
On your hands.
yeah.
You ride it?
You just stand and balance.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's
Wait,
like
how did you not go pro if that's how you skateboard, man?
Just wait for my skateboarding mixtape.
Coming for you, Tony Hawk. Anyways, yeah.
so anyway, I just got this like 6 weeks ago, and it's like you can take it off road. It's like really good fun.
How
But-
fast?
It goes like 26 kilometers per hour max.
You can get hurt doing that. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
but that's going kind of like flat. Like if you're going downhill, you can go higher than that. You can go like 30, 35 kind of kilometers per hour.
That's what I'm talking.
Have you fallen?
Yes, one time. Actually, Alex, I sent you the video, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, you failed pretty hard. We'll see if we can attach that somehow. But that
You
just
have
may be
video? You have video of you
for our
falling?
podcast. Yeah.
So Sonya was
hilarious.
filming me, and it's the one time I've eaten shit, and I just like completely face planted. It was on grass, luckily. But anyway, so it's one thing I've started noticing is like there's kind of consistencies in the reactions that people give you when they see you, and there's kind of like it's like
Stain?
Yeah,
Mostly,
people
yeah.
are like, shame. Yeah.
mostly that. But it's like there's kind of like there's really young people and really old people kind of react the same way, where they kind of like they're like, oh my god, look at that thing, like that's crazy, like. And I think that like the way to think about it is like young people, they've never seen somebody move like that, so they're like, whoa, that's so cool. And then old people are like, way to fuck. People aren't supposed to be able to move like that. Like that's
If
just
you're
not right.
85, grew up in the Depression, you're like, this is what we've done with our technology.
Yeah.
We've gone back to the dark ages.
And then it's like everybody in the middle, they just don't really give a fuck. You kind of look like a poser, to be honest.
How do you like turn? Like, how do you steer?
Already?
It's just like a skateboard where you like lean
Oh, okay.
forward to turn like to the right and then backwards to turn to the left.
All right.
Do you skateboard?
I longboarded, but surprisingly very little translated. It took me like, I thought I'd be fine, but honestly, it took me like, I don't know, 2 days to be like super comfortable on it. And now I'm just
That's
like, I
good.
ripped it off road. Like
Yeah.
I almost ate shit today. Actually, I was like going down a hill and like there was a rock that I didn't see until it was too late, and I like the board slammed into the rock and stopped, and then I just like kept running because I was like I had
Wow.
momentum. But if there hadn't been somewhere for me to run, I would have died 100%.
You should take that puppy
Just-
down Montreal.
I did. That was literally where I was going.
Like,
I was literally on Montreal. Like,
But you went a trail on Mount Royale?
I went off trail, so I was like literally off road on it.
damn.
Yeah, I gotta say, the fact that you only almost fell once doing that, the fact that you didn't die is honestly impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how close have you come to hitting other people? Did people ever get scared that they're like, oh shit, like this person's come by pretty fast?
Nah, because like it's super maneuverable. So like I've never had a situation where I've needed to like sneak by somebody, and like on a sidewalk, I'll just go
Yeah.
slow enough that it's like they'll hear me coming from behind.
When I went to Austin, they had those like the electric scooters everywhere downtown,
Oh yeah.
and we walked around on a Friday night, and man, I almost died 3 times. Like because you just have drunk ass people on those things just ripping it down the street. And
Yeah.
they go fast.
Oh, yeah.
Too. That's what I mean. Like, well, at least I guess if you hit someone on that, it's just you coming at them at 20k.
Yeah,
Fuck them up. But like the electric scooters, if someone hit you with that, it's because you're getting hit with a metal bar first.
yeah,
So we were just like kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, they
Yeah,
look
it's
like pretty fun to ride.
Absolutely. Like I cannot. It's like snowboarding on cement kind of thing because it's so like you can really carve it. So it's like it's just
I
like
tried that before. Didn't work out the same. I don't think.
So,
Definitely
Julian,
easier.
when's the mixtape coming out?
When's the mixtape coming out?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see some sweet tricks coming out soon here, bud. Just you doing flips and shit, man. Like, this is if you're
Yeah.
the new
I think I already
Tony
said-
Hawk video game just came out. It might not be too late to add it.
Just Julian, like a model of Julian doing that on one of those things. That'd be funny.
Yeah,
You should-
$50 downloadable update. I'd pay.
You guys
I
should
have
have
a question.
There's some people who do like serious like tricks with these. They'll like go off rails and shit. I obviously can't do that, but they're like you can do
Not
tricks.
yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What made you go for that over like just like an electric like longboard or something?
So I was like looking at I knew I like when I was coming back to Montreal, I knew I had to commute to the lab and I didn't want to like take public transit to do that. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll like look into like an electric bike or like a scooter or something. But like bikes are super expensive. They're like $3,000 plus, and then
Like
the
those
scoot-
e-bikes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then like scooters, I was like, I mean, you've seen what people look like standing on them. I don't really have to explain that one, do I?
I
fair
knew a guy who went to UBC, and he just scooted around everywhere at UBC, and that's how he got places between classes because like the campus is really really big, and he said people like looked at him disapprovingly, but he said he got there in record time. So I don't know if I'm just gonna dismiss scooters out of hand. That's why. Just the electric ones I'm not a fan of.
Like
Yeah.
I believe it, but I just didn't want to do that. So anyway, so then I was looking at like the long boards versus this, and the company that I probably would have bought a board from, Boosted Board, they went out of business pretty recently actually.
Oh shit.
So I ended up buying like the one wheel because I also like I've always wanted a one wheel. I've like seen people for years because they're from California, and so I've seen people like
Okay.
riding them around, and they look like a lot of fun. So I was just like, you know what, perfect timing.
I feel like I could have guessed that it was from California.
Yeah, it's from Santa Cruz,
Yeah.
California, which is like
Yeah,
the like skate surf capital kind of California.
that checks out.
So that's kind of why I decided versus the longboard. And it's honestly like I think this versus the longboard, this is way more maneuverable in the city. Like I can jump off sidewalks and like jump onto sidewalks with this, and like
Damn.
you can really like dip and dive in and out of traffic kind of thing. So it's like it's just super easy.
Just going between cars, like.
I had to the other day actually
Scary.
because there was a truck
Jeez.
that like just like pulled a right turn without an indicator, and so like almost crushed me.
Man, Montreal would be a scary place to like learn how to do that. Yeah.
It's made my off-road way better because the streets are garbage.
Yeah. That's true. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous though. Like they look pretty fun.
Yeah, look into them. I mean,
Yeah.
so this is the model that's like the cheaper one. It's like the more expensive one's like $1,800 and this one's only $900.
It's
So
not
it's still
bad.
expensive, but when you compare it to
Wow.
like an electric scooter or an electric bike, it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
Electric bikes, I did not know they were that expensive.
Yeah, electric bikes are.
I guess I'll just work my calves.
I could definitely see Alex getting an electric bike.
Oh, man. Don't you dare. I have way too much self-respect to do that.
Man, I guarantee you were just looking up the price of electric bikes. As soon as Julian said that, you're like, oh,
Right.
damn, I should really pick one of those up.
Hey. I didn't even know the price. I'm going to be clear. And I'm not going to take this slander. You're going to be sued pretty soon, buddy, for
Yeah,
defamation.
yeah, you're going to jail, bud.
Electric bike nonsense attached to my name. Anyways, so Julian, do you have any last some new science facts for us here?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are letting me do this. This has been great fun for me.
I want to feel like I learned something, you know?
Even though I won't remember it, but I want to feel like I learned it. That's
Yeah. Just
you
the
wasted
feeling.
55 minutes of your life, but you got 5 minutes of something worthwhile.
Yeah.
So the thing I was going to talk about today is it's called a teratoma. So do you guys know what like stem cells are?
I mean,
No, but I am aware of what pterodactyls are.
Basically the same thing.
yeah.
So a stem
that's
cell.
fair.
So a stem cell is like a cell that. So most cells in your body are something called like differentiated, which means they are only one thing. So like you've got skin cells, you've got like gut cells, and they will only ever be like a gut cell or a skin cell. But then there's stem cells, and stem cells can not only make more of themselves, but also have the potential to become like almost any kind of other cell. And there's different kinds of stem cells that are capable of becoming certain groups, basically. So like what we use a lot in science to study is something called induced pluripotent stem cells. And the pluripotent just means that they have the potential to become almost any cell in the body. And the only ones they can't become are like the placenta, basically.
Too bad.
So and then the reason they're induced is because like we take fibroblasts, so skin cells, and then you turn them into stem cells, and that's why they're induced stem cells.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot of research that's being done with them, and the way you prove that you've turned your cells into pluripotent stem cells is you inject them into a mouse that has no immune system, and you let it grow a cancer.
Sucks for the mouse, eh? Jesus.
Really.
That's dumb.
And then the
That's
way you
brutal.
prove that you've
I'm
got
standing up
pluripotent stem cells, the way that you prove that you've got the pluripotent stem cells is you take that tumor and you cut it open, and you have to find 4 different cell types within that tumor. And so,
Okay.
like teratomas can often have like teeth in them, or like hair, like fur, or like blood vessel, like in the tumor. So like
That
if you
sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
That
so
sounds
you've ever heard
gross.
of like somebody who was like born and they're like, I absorbed my twin or whatever. That's like, and they had that like tumor that had like teeth in it and hair in it. It's because it was like some stem cells ended up in a place they weren't supposed to be. And then they
Is that
became like
how-
they just differentiated into.
Is that how you become an X-Man? Or
I think so.
Oh,
I think
I
that
understand. Okay.
yeah. So there's like a lot we're trying to do with stem cells. But like I think it's
crazy.
kind of funny. Like the way you prove that you have stem cells is you have to like inject them into a mouse, and then
Yeah,
like
it's kind of fucked.
find teeth and hair and shit.
Yeah, it's-
I mean, interesting, but still
Yeah.
gross. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of the best science.
I mean, I definitely learned something, but I kind of want to forget it already.
Oh, oh, thanks, Professor. It's a real pleasure, but I just need a drink to forget this class now. So thank you.
I regret everything. Science section canceled. We're not doing it anymore, Julian.
Yeah, I still like
That
it.
way how they proved that like you ate your twin in utero? They're like,
No,
oh, you got
like-
some teeth on your neck or what?
So like when you have when you have the embryo, like there are some cells that are like it's called like the inner cell mass, and then you have other cells that are called like I think they're called trophoblasts, and the trophoblasts are what become like the placenta. But then the inner cell mass is the pluripotent stem cells that become like every cell in your body. They're like you know how you come from like just one cell from like the egg. Like
yeah.
every
Like
other
this.
cell in your body differentiates from those pluripotent stem cells. And so my understanding is that like sometimes if you have like one of those stem cells that like breaks off, and then the embryo develops a little bit more, and then if that stem cell reattaches, you could get like a teratoma.
Okay.
So it's not
But
necessarily like you absorbed your twin. It's not that there was like two embryos and one got absorbed. It could be, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It should be that way, though.
Yeah, you should be strong.
Yeah.
Most important.
Isn't there a
it should
Dwight
be
bit?
that.
Isn't there a Dwight bit about how he's got like the strength
Yeah.
of like him plus a small child or something?
Yeah, because he absorbed his his twin in the uterus. Yeah. But
Anyways,
I mean,
so thanks for
about-
joining us.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks
On
for
that
joining
note-
us for the second episode of the Lizard Kings podcast. Have a
Yeah,
good one.
thank you. See ya.
You guys, bye.